My hair is on fire right now. I rarely do this. I might start doing it more often. I cannot tell you the number of times comments that I have received from people blaming me for their estrangement. Because I'm out here talking about how we heal after going no contact. Sometimes we can heal while we're in low contact and then build a relationship with the parent that we've had to take some space and distance from. That is not the case if you have a parent who has NPD or who has some sort of disorder that they're not getting help for and that they're not growing and going on their healing journey. Repairing those relationships is impossible because we can't repair on one end and the other person isn't working to repair. It doesn't happen, right? It takes two people to heal a relationship. And particularly when we're talking parent-child, it's the parent who created the relationship for what it looks like in the future. That's the way it is. Even if that means that they passed down trauma, married somebody who destroyed the relationship, they still created the foundation by exposing their child to somebody who was probably like the love that they knew. And that's the passing down of trauma. And a lot of times those relationships are actually repairable and salvageable. The number of times that somebody is throwing dirt on me and shade on me because the internet made their kids estranged and if I didn't talk about it and all blah, 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 blah is astronomical. I am not about that. I am not about the destruction of relationships. The destruction took place before anybody started speaking out because it starts in childhood. It starts in the lack of unconditional love and care and protection that parent gave that child, right? My mother is a sociopath and a narcissist. That relationship is never going to repair. And the demise of it had nothing to do with anything I ever read out anywhere in the world. There was no internet back then. It had everything to do with the fact that I recognized she wasn't a safe person and I deserved a safe person in my life, especially my mother. So all this to be said, if I had it my way, these estranged parents out there would be looking for resources to go on their own healing journey first and foremost, because the more they can learn to be whole and love themselves and understand that their behavior doesn't define them, their lack of accountability does, and work to just live their best life, whatever that looks like, so that when their adult child comes back, they love themselves so much that they know how to receive that adult child, that they recognize that they can say, I'm sorry, and it doesn't mean that they're a bad person, it actually means they're a good person. If I had my way, I would see more repair of these relationships, because let me tell you, it sucks to be out in the world without a family. And when you come from a narcissistic family system, which is what I specialize in, and you estrange from one person in that system, everybody re-abandons you. And I say re-abandons you because they were never with you to begin with. They were all a part of what was going on in some capacity. And the proof is in the pudding. I had a favorite aunt throughout my childhood. She was the aunt who told me that she was proud of, actually she wrote it in the card once, that she was proud of me. She, was like, she would give me some affection. She showed me some kindness. And I call it kindness by contrast because anything that she did for me, any love that she gave me, and I do think she loved me, looked much bigger and what was made much more important because of the torture that my mother was perpetrating on me. So I call it kindness by contrast because really, if it was deep love and deep kindness, at some point when my aunt could have validated me and had a relationship with me, she would have chosen me. In my childhood, I understand it could have been difficult to intervene because maybe my mother would then bar her from having access to me and at least being able to give me some love here and there, maybe in her mind, and I could see how this would be the case, was her doing something good that I would otherwise not have. Something that taught me that I am worth something somewhere to somebody. So I get it. But then when I became an adult, and my mother could no longer bar her from access. And the no contact began first with my mother, then I estranged from my grandparents. My aunt had a choice to stand up for me, and she didn't. She was a complete coward, and she stood in her own space of what she feels. I don't know what she feels. I'm not even going to guess, but let me just say this. My mother is a convicted criminal. Everybody in the family actually knows it. It's not a figment of everybody knows. And they're all standing with her. She has an entire family, and I don't. I don't want them now. I understand and recognize that they are not worthy of me or my children. That being said, they all knew. And when we estrange, we lose everybody, or re-lose everybody, however you want to word that. And I don't want anybody to have this experience if they don't have to. And if the relationship with your parent is repairable because they take accountability, they validate you, they are truly deeply sorry, and they demonstrate that sincere sorrow by changing their behaviors and becoming a safe person for you. I would love to see that. And then we have somebody out there who entitles themselves as a relationship coach, holy F balls, and spiritual healer. Ooh, I bet you there's some toxic spirituality in there. Well, I have not watched any other content of this creator. I want to make that very clear. I don't think I could stomach it. And I definitely don't want to boost their algorithm. And they are huge. Like they have a six-figure following on one of the platforms. I didn't look on their other one. And so I find it very upsetting, because what that says to me is there's a lot of people getting really, really bitter and bad advice. So I'm going to play the video. I'm going to block out the face and all that. If you recognize, like, I don't want anybody going after anybody. I do not play that game. This is to be constructive. And my hope is that there will be an estranged parent out there who sees my video, and especially if it's one of their followers, and has a little think and recognizes that to find community, they don't need to sacrifice good advice. I understand that there are parents out there that when their adult child estranges, they feel abandoned, they feel hurt, they feel confused. It happens. Some of them, they don't know what they don't know. And I'm not saying they didn't know what they did was wrong. I'm saying that they don't know how to handle being wrong and separating that from the kind of person that they could be. They don't understand that when their children come to them and say, you hurt me, they're not saying, you're a piece of garbage. They're saying, you hurt me and I love you and I want to have a relationship with you. Can you heal this with me? That's what they're saying. But people like this are building communities for vulnerable people who could actually be helped and whose relationships could actually be salvaged. And I hope I reach a parent out there who starts to think about what they really want for their future and who they want to be as a person, because they don't want to be this. So here we go. Let's get into it, shall we?
You did the very best you could. You sacrificed for them to make sure they had a place to stay, clothes on their back, food to eat, and they were safe. That's it. The basics. That's what you gave them, and you gave them love. So you might not have been able to go to the little baseball games or take them to the dance class and all of that. And some kids that when their parents did all of that, they still grow up and be very ungrateful. Parents, love yourself first. If your kids are like that, let it go. Let it go and let them go on out there and bump their heads and learn their own lessons. Just let it go, but don't take it to heart and be hurt about it, because see, that hurt can become a wound that now you got to go back and heal. It's probably a wound that if any of us feel that hurt, it's probably something that we all need to look at, because it could be something real deep, like a childhood wound that that should be eradicated, period. So that, when your kids act up, it doesn't hurt you so deeply inside.
Okay. First of all, these parents are loving themselves first. That's part of the problem. And I do it this way because typically a parent who's an abuser is pretty self-loathing. They are. They're angry. They have unresolved trauma, to her point. I'll give her that one. And there's a lot of mess going on in there. I mean, my mother's a sociopath and a narcissist. She only values herself, but I don't believe that she has any love for herself. I don't believe that you can love yourself and be so hateful out in the world, right? These are the parents putting themselves first. Oh, they didn't go to the baseball game. Do you hear how invalidating and diminishing that was? Do you hear? So you couldn't go. I understand. I was a single mom. We work. It's difficult. But if you love your child and you have any space at all, you're going to make the effort to go to something. So you may not be able to go every week because you have to work and put food on the table, which, by the way, is your debt to your child, not something they should be grateful for. When we bring children into the world, Miss Spiritual Healer, we owe them a debt of care. And that care is not basic care, it's complete care. Complete with unconditional love for them. This disgusts me. And I rarely feel like I just want to throttle someone. But I'm just so over this. My children do not owe me a debt of gratitude. They do not owe me a relationship. And I guarantee you, and I have not looked at this woman's content, but no way, no how does she have relationships with all of her children if she has them. And quite possibly with none of them. How completely arrogant and self-centered can you be to send a message out into the world to parents out there that their children who aren't grateful, they deserve better, that their children didn't deserve better. They aren't grateful for the provisions that they needed to keep them alive for the life they didn't choose to have. Oh my gosh, what are your thoughts on this, peeps? I'm losing it here. I'm at the point of speechlessness and heartbreak. I believe that if you are an estranged parent, you should be living your best life. I do. I do. I don't think that you should be, sitting in a corner in the dark, hiding from life. I really don't think so. I think my mother's corner should be in a prison cell, and I think there's a lot of parents out there in this situation who belong in prison because they abuse their children. But let's also remember that there are parents in estrangements who pass down trauma and who believe like this woman does. Well, after all I did for you, because they don't understand for whatever reason that all they did for them was pay their actual debt in terms of housing and food and clothing and that sort of thing. And that the things that they did to hurt them, they can resolve that now and do better moving forward. And instead of having to struggle living their best life as an estranged parent, they could actually do their own healing work from the wounds that they were given in their childhood to then live in their best relationship with their adult child. Voices out in the world like this woman prevent that from happening. And I'm also going to go ahead and include some of the comments that were on her page in the end of this video, as well as some titles to the things of her other videos. And it's really interesting to me, and like I said, I'm not doing a deep dive. I don't want to engage with her content. I really don't. Not that I'm going to make an impact in one direction or another, but just in case I boost her algorithm in any sort of way, I don't want that responsibility. She's talking a lot about how to protect your children from narcissists. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that right there.